Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade Reckoning of New York. And in the last episode, guys, both Padraic and Kali attempted to find Sansariq's location, and while Kali went to the park, our Malkavian decided to check the old church, where he found some hidden bodies and a lot of rats and potential hunters coming his way, but not much else. Fortunately, he was able to get away, and all roads have led here to North Brother Island, so now we get to see the confrontation with Sansariq through Patty's eyes. Let's see what happens. We tread carefully through the bushes, mindful of the crunch of the snow underfoot. Perhaps we're overly cautious because distant gunshots would have covered the sound of a stampede, but safety first, as always. Although the shooting has died down in the last couple of minutes, and replaced by blood-curdling screams of torment. We stumble upon several corpses, and surprisingly, a decapitated skeleton with scraps of decomposing flesh still clinging to it. The murder of crows feasting on the scene couldn't care less. To them, carrion's carrion. It gives us both some pause. Those fuckers! The screams are almost drowning out the gunfire now, suggesting that the ministers might be getting the upper hand. Excellent. We'll be fine as long as they don't mistake us for enemies. Great, Kali. You got yourself right in the middle of a fucking war zone. The whole city feels like a battlefield these nights. It's just our luck that we arrived right in time for the hostilities here. She just straight up ignores me. How rude. So, what's the plan? We could try sneaking past, hoping the hunters are too busy with the serpents to notice us, or... You shouldn't let the raven choose. That ravenous, raving, raging... Look over there. There's a spot under that collapsed floor where we could hide out and wait for this to blow over. She'll feast on you along with crows. You must choose. You. Roll 20. Silence. I should let Kali pick our path. I say we go with whatever your daredevil instinct recommends. You sure you didn't hit your head on our way here? Positive. Well, let's kick some ass then. Maybe that'll score us a few points with Sansariq right off the bat. I nod and follow her as she kicks down the door and enters the ruined building. Every sense heightened as my vitae surges in anticipation of a fight. The floor is a puzzle of body parts. You could probably reconstruct some individuals if you were so inclined, but we're in a bit of a hurry. I avoid stepping on them, only half noticing the sickening crunch of bone under Kali's boots. What are you waiting for, you idiot? It's safe, sound, secure. The hairs on my neck stand up on end and I come to a stop. Something's not right. Let's feel their presence. I shut out all of the other stimuli and zero in on the feeling that made me pause. I isolated from my other senses, focusing intently on that distinct presence. There, behind the wall. 3 of them. I flashed 3 fingers at Kali to signal a number of hunters in the next room. She presses herself against the wall while I kick a pebble to mimic footsteps. Fooled, 2 hunters burst out, shotguns ready. I lash out with my iron will like a whip, catching one of them by the brainstem, dominating to make him turn his weapon on his compatriot. Gray matter splashes over the wall as confusion and dread wash over the shooter's face, just before Kali rips his throat out. The last hunter starts panicking, blasting his assault rifle everywhere, trying to shoot us through the walls. We duck behind the door frame and Kali sneaks a quick glance. She must like what she sees, because her grin is truly savage. Without looking at each other, Kali and I lunge forward. I go high, aiming for the gun, while she dives low and slams an elbow into the hunter's solar plexus, dropping him to his knees, then flatten him with a right hook to the temple. Before his trigger finger can even twitch, he's already lying on the ground, disarmed and confused. We both move in again, but this time our rhythm is off. Our syncopated moves clash as we both reach for the hunter's head with the same neck-snapping plan, and then the head just Pops right off. The lips keep moving a few seconds as if murmuring a prayer. We drop it immediately, looking at each other in embarrassment, then take a step back from the now headless corpse. The clamor inevitably draws more trouble. As we turn to leave, a group of hunters charge in, weapons at the ready. We go back to back and switch places, throwing them off balance, but before we can lunge, we hear a loud ting, and the hunter in front of the door freezes like a corpse. And that is exactly what he has become. His head is severed by a cut so clean that his body stands dumbly for a moment before crumpling onto the ground. Behind stands a group of serpents, all clad in leathers and gold. A glamorous, yet terrifying sight. For a split second, the room goes deathly quiet, and then all hell breaks loose. Kali and I hardly need to intervene. The hunters and serpents clash with each other. Gunshots echo, cries fill the air, and blood flows freely. It's all over in less than a minute, and the kindred, predictably, emerge victorious, leaving one last victim unscathed. The silence that falls is so oppressive that I reflexively check my ears for fear I've gone deaf. But thankfully, it doesn't seem to be the case. Kali looks confused as well, which helps calm me. The serpents don't move, don't speak. They only look at us judgmentally, calculatingly. In this heavy silence, filled only by the scent of blood, the sound of approaching footsteps echoes like thunder. The man who enters the room is barely Kali's height, a full head shorter than me, but he carries himself with the gravitas of a king, the ruthless ruler of his domain. Sansariq, the most powerful snake himself. From the silence of his movements, it's instantly clear that his thunderous entrance was all for show. An intimidation. A warning. Magnanimously, he was giving the assailants a chance to flee in disgrace. Or letting them scatter for a more interesting hunt, more likely. Perhaps Kali and I should have taken this cue to make ourselves scarce as well. The last remaining hunter tries frantically to crawl away, but he collapses under Sansariq's steel-capped boot. That's when I realize why the servant is walking so oddly. He's dragging a dead hunter impaled on the enormous claws protruding from his fingers. The body slides to the ground with a hollow thud. Another kindred hands him a clean handkerchief, which he uses to wipe the blood off his hands, and then he tosses it nonchalantly onto the corpse. Standing over the whimpering hunter, he surveys the mortal with sheer disdain, then tilts his head to make direct eye contact with Kali without so much as a glance at me. Perhaps my reputation as an anarch bootlicker precedes me. Given that you've been smeared with the blood of the cattle, am I right to assume that you are not part of their pathetic assault? Kali straightens up, almost bursting out of his skin. Please, I've had enough bullshit from their crew already. No, we're siblings in arms here. No more than cousins, I'd say. Perhaps several times removed. She tosses me a sour glance. Sansariq still ignores me, his gaze locked on Kali, unblinking, his posture rigid as a cobra's. I'm unsure if I should count my blessings or feel offended that he pretends I'm invisible. I'm not particularly keen on getting on his radar. Suddenly he lets out a short, sharp whistle, and instantly two of his serpents lift the last hunter, propping his limp body into a standing position, but Sansariq doesn't spare him a glance. His eyes are fixed on Kali, but she pretends it doesn't bother her one bit. He's been a real annoyance, this one. Quite the rogue, wouldn't you say? Of course you would. Why don't you teach him a lesson? It's clearly not a real question, and the only acceptable response is a dutiful yes, sir. But I'm not the soldier receiving this order. I sigh inwardly as Kali plants her feet wide, crosses her arms, and glares right back into Sansariq's cold serpent eyes. He clicks his tongue in disapproval. She seems to be catching on that her rebellion won't earn us any points. The ministry is all about order and hierarchy. Leave her be, lad. Leave her be. Let him bite. Let him spit. We have no time for whatever punishments awaits her. I step in front of Kali, pushing her gently behind me, and clear my throat. I'll deal with him. That unfortunately brings Sansariq's eyes onto me, and everybody's in the room as well, Kali included. To be honest, I'd very much prefer not to flaunt my gifts for all and sundry, but I don't think we have a choice here. See my mind and weep. Ooh. I crouch down and lock eyes with the hunter, wide-eyed from exhaustion and terror. Yet there's a shred of defiance left in him, and I latch onto it as the first word escapes my mouth. I whisper the truth. Unpleasant, yet exhilarating, reaching deep into the core of the hunter's ego. It's the truth he knows, but keeps hidden. The truth he cannot handle. I speak until he's a step away from falling apart, eyes sprouting tears and rolling back into his skull. No, don't. The last shred of his defiance crumbles. The hunter's mouth opens wide like he's trying to swallow the whole building. Then, he starts laughing. It begins with a twitchy giggle, then quickly spirals into uncontrollable howls. He drops to the floor, convulsing, foam bubbling at the mouth. His eyes are bulging and teary, his hands tearing at his own face, digging into his skin. But I keep going. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Sansariq coming over and feel his hand on my shoulder. Now, that's quite enough, my boy. We don't want him completely broken, do we? Little Kali sat on the wall. It takes a long moment before I'm able to shake off the elation, to withhold the truth seeping out from within me. Eventually, I back off, my eyes downcast. Most of all, I ignore Kali's dumbfounded gaze. I'm flustered and ashamed of my lack of control. The hunter breathes laboriously on the ground. Sansariq's serpent eyes follow these feeble movements unblinkingly. He approaches the hunter slowly, lazily, and then with both hands lifts the mortal off the ground by the shoulders. I watch from the sidelines as Sansariq's bearing changes completely. Gone is the relentless intensity, the danger, the zeal. His eyes look soft and sweet when he locks them with the hunter's and murmurs something into his ears, gently, as if soothing a frightened animal. I know from many stories what Sansariq is capable of, but it's still uncomfortable to watch as the hunter melts into Sansariq's arms and embraces him, sobbing into the crook of his neck and clawing desperately at his back as if trying to draw him closer. It looks intimate, reverent, an encounter with the most beloved divine. Sansariq carefully pulls away, ignoring the hunter's clinging hands, and fishes out a hand grenade from the hunter's gear. Return to your patron. Make him see the error of his ways. The hunter immediately gets up, feet unsteady, and limps away, through the door and into the cold darkness. His gait is awkward and clearly uncomfortable, because he doesn't, not even for a second, avert his worshipful eyes from Sansariq's face. Come. He strides confidently toward the pier, his entourage obediently in tow. And naturally, we're herded along too, courtesy of a serpent who insists on shoving us as if it's truly necessary. With no further distractions, the path feels much shorter than I recall. In the distance, I see one of those RIBs bobbing on the East River. I wonder if that hunter will truly obey the serpent's charming hiss. Now. Sansariq turns to Kali and me, sizing it up with an icy glare. But even though his tone regains its former frightening intensity, now there's a hint of, dare I say, benevolence. You have the misfortune of catching me in a nasty mood, I'm afraid. But if you provide an acceptable explanation for trespassing on my turf, I might just let you go. Well? Kali glances at me and I give her an encouraging nod. Name's Kali, and this here's... Oh, I know who that is. The Baron's lapdog. The court's errand boy. Ah, indeed, my reputation does precede me. I elect to remain silent. I'm more interested in you. That seems to ruffle Kali's feathers. Perhaps she'll choose her words more carefully now that she has the unenviable prize of Sansariq's attention. Finish him. What are you, a wimp? Fuck 'em. Fuck 'em all. I'm Reynard Castle's child. I run with his coterie, and I know you've had, business relations with him. I was actually the one who rushed the delivery of those trinkets you wanted. Despite this relatively safe gambit, Sansariq's face grows even sourer, lips curled down, eyebrows knit, and he glares at her with open hostility. But then, unexpectedly, he throws back his head and laughs. Loud, free, mocking laughter that makes us very uncomfortable. Or makes me very uncomfortable and Kali even more so. His laughter abruptly stops, and his cold, unblinking, perfectly poised stare returns. I haven't heard from good old Ray in months, child. Whatever you think is procured for me went to someone else's hands. He falls silent briefly, and then his serpent eyes narrow. Do you even know what exactly it is that you've acquired for him? A silence is the answer. My face is blank even though inwardly I'm furrowing my brow. Kali looks more and more flustered, through the Sansariq's oppressive presence of course, but also she doesn't seem to know what's going on. Little Kali had a big ass fall. As Sansariq makes yet another disparaging sound at her, I quickly clear my throat to draw the Setite's scalding focus. Kali is looking for a sire to give him his much-deserved comeuppance. Perhaps you'll profit from it as well. Could you share with us your most recent dealings with him? My attempt to extract information out of Sansariq is embarrassingly artless, but thankfully all he does is smirk and sigh as if thinking about Castle brought him nothing but anguish. I don't mind, though I must say that brat truly was insufferable, fixated on the antediluvians like a child obsessed with a new toy. I can feel confusion twisting my face. Antediluvians? I didn't know anyone was interested in them as more than quasi-religious trivia. Aside from the Sabbat, of course, but they... Castle couldn't possibly be cavorting with them, could he? No, that's impossible. Kali would have noticed that. She must have noticed, among his innumerable other sins. But all the sheriff's hounds, and all of his men. Oblivious to the storm brewing in my head, Sansariq looks at Kali sharply and continues. How he came to learn that my clan, me in particular, holds knowledge of our most ancient ancestors is a mystery to me. But seek out aid he did, and asking numerous questions about ancestry, power, and blood. I twitch when he waves his hand dismissively after such a long period of immobile singular focus. Let me be perfectly clear. The history of Clan Ravnos was never of interest to me, and I had little desire to discuss it. Neither had Reynard, up until a few months ago. What prompted his interest in these topics? I haven't the slightest, but I'd bet the promise of profit was his primary motivation. What I will say, however, is that his focus on, how did you put it, business relations, waned significantly. Judging by Kali's countenance, this is news to her as well. For the first time in our conversation, Sansariq's face twists into the picture of true savagery. No more pleasantness, exacerbation, or hints of courtesy. Only anger, relentless and feral. Couldn't put Kali's head back on again. Reynard Castle has been slipping in his promises, O child of his. I am done graciously waiting for reparations. Kali sneaks a look at me, so I nod at her encouragingly. She takes a beat to compose herself and starts speaking. I get it, so let me speak plainly. Reynard's missing. Whether he's gone for good or just laying low, I can't say. No one's been able to reach him. I think he's out there somewhere, hiding, but he's off the radar. You've got your ear to the ground. Have you heard anything about Reynard in the last few nights? I have no interest in that brat insomuch as the objects he swore to procure for me. And since now I'm aware he had no hand in obtaining them, it is high time that I move on to greener pastures, don't you think? Especially since I know they intend to deliver. Yes? Sansariq almost seems to have lightened up a tad, but then his expression snaps back to its usual icy detachment as he leans forward slightly. His gaze is steady and chilling as a snake's. Reynard Castle meddles with powers beyond his ken. I wouldn't be surprised if this sudden uptick in hunter activity was linked to his actions one way or another. We wait, hoping he'll elaborate on this strange implication, but it seems our discussion is over. He straightens up and signals to his second-in-command, who quickly moves in to receive his whispered instructions. Reynard Castle, meddling in matters beyond his ken, connected to the hunters. Could it be... Is that the task Wretch saddled him with? I need to know more, but I see Kali looking at me and then she moves closer, preventing me from delving further. What's our next move? Sansariq's clues about Reynard too. Your sire's messing with dangerous shit? Great, tell me something I don't know. What now? I'm about to insist we press Sansariq on the hunter issue when I catch her dejected face. There's usually so much pep in his step that any sadness looks unnatural on her. It's as if she was born to smile, not frown. We see what you're doing there. We see it. Does it bother you? The castle's been undermining you and reneging on commitments that involve your work? She scowls at me, crossing her arms. Of course it bothers me. What do you think? He was supposed to screw over other people, not me. Ah, yes, I understand now. So there is no honor among thieves after all. I'm sorry it happened to you, but maybe we could discuss it after taking our farewell? Hold up, there's one more thing I need to ask. She backs away and coughs to grab Sansariq's attention. He acknowledges her right away, but is deliberately slow in finishing his conversation. Just one more thing before we scram. The circulatory system seems to have a hit list, and Reynard's sitting at the top. Any clue what that's about? Sansariq's eyes narrow in anger and contempt. Well, color me astonished. He was blabbing on and on about his latest illustrious benefactor who could help him circumvent the red market. He makes such a sour face that were he still mortals, he'd probably spit at her. Seems like he ended up on the bad side of that slumbering beach on the Hudson. And frankly, good riddance with that. She tilts her head like a confused puppy, while my vitae runs cold. And who do you mean, exactly? Oh, she has you. She has you now, lad. She knows. She knows. She knows. I twirl my ring, feeling the weight of Kali's glance until it snaps to 20. Ugh. Is it too much to ask for one night without inconvenient subjects coming up? Sansariq gnashes his teeth and a low, seething murmur ripples through his followers. That Zamisi bitch, Maricha, whatever the fuck her name is. You don't know her? Then count your blessings, child. What's her deal? Her deal is that she wasses in like she owns the place and steals what's been rightfully ours for decades. I raise my head just in time to see his glaze blaze with a pure yellow light, his fangs elongating as his jaw loosens in a furious scream. A forked tongue flickers back into his mouth as he calms down and regains his usual frigidity. I add two and two together and realize that Wretch must have been the one who ousted the serpents from their turf in Harlem. Did you forget, lad? She drove them out the way Norm Padraic banished the snakes back home. That's a little bit too Scottish than Irish. Well, let me try that again. Did you forget, lad? She drove them out of the way St. Paddy banished the snakes back home. I take a deep breath, watching the ring roll to 20 and feel the tension slowly leave my shoulders. But then Kali just keeps talking. I wonder what kind of relationship Reynard has with this Veritra. Do you think... I do not think about her, child of Reynard, nor do I wish to start. My time is precious. We're done here. Thank God. Sansariq fully turns his back to us, confirming with some of his serpents. Kali strains her ears to hear their whispers, probably more out of general habit and curiosity, so I quickly tug on the sleeve. I think our meeting is concluded. We should leave before Sansariq himself dries us off his turf. You're right, I guess. I just really hope for more clues than that. Well, at least we confirm that Sansariq has nothing to do with Castle's disappearance. Let's discuss strategy once we're gone from this place. She nods, clears her throat loudly like an actor warming up, and speaks without us waiting for Sansariq to face us. Thanks for not throwing us out on our asses sooner, Sansariq. And for the info, too. We'll get out of your hair now. She turns on a heel and we make for the exit, but his stare halts her dead in her tracks. You should leave the city, child. Looking for that sire of yours will yield nothing but death and ruin. And if your leaving means that brat digs himself deeper into his own shit. He gives her a smirk. Perhaps the first one thus far. Then I might be willing to lend a hand. Kali starts shrinking in on herself, not out of fear or embarrassment, but more like a coiled spring, and then she relaxes abruptly. Or to be more precise, she freezes. Sansariq's offer has not been made out of sympathy, but kindness. Kindness, Fionn. Kindness guides the raven's wing. A rare commodity indeed in the kindred world. I'm glad Kali understood in time and managed to keep her mouth shut. Instead, she gives a silent nod and hooks her arms in mine as we make our way out of that decrepit building into the frigid dead of night. Whew. Okay. Connecting the dots. We've gathered a trove of information about matters related to Kali's sire. We should discuss everything, take a metaphorical breath, and determine our next course of action. I've heard some of the crazy legends that popped up around the ministry over the years. I don't know if they can actually control the elements, but the second we stepped off North Brother Island, a ruthless wind kicked up, shoving us right back to our boat. It was like Mother Nature screaming at us to get out, to run, to leave this cursed place before it consumes us whole. So leave we did. We crossed the East River and only slowed down when that wicked wind finally took a break from breathing down our necks. That's when it dives into the icy Hudson, stirring up wild waves. As we talk on the pier, the thunderous crash on the water, fierce and intense, drowns out our voices, as if devouring our words for sustenance. I feel like Kali might be in need of some light entertainment after the recent revelations, so I put on a bit of a show, ticking off points on my fingers as I lay out what we figured out so far. Let's recapitulate. Capitulate. Even. First, Jessica Wainwright says Raina Castle is now #1 on the circulatory system's hit list. Yeah, and I'm probably going down with him if I don't stop digging. Not like I've got much of a choice anyway. Correct. And second, Ellie Sansariq swears he hasn't talked to Raina Castle in months. And items? Yeah, items sounds about right. Right. The items you arranged from Sansariq through Castle haven't shown up yet. Castle has also developed a rather intense, almost obsessive interest in the antediluvians, but his reason and objectives are still a mystery. She just quietly nods along. Raina Castle has been MIA for the past few nights, despite having meetings lined up. I spin my ring out of habit, even though no voice upsets my mind at the moment. It looks like Yesaya is playing a very dangerous game indeed. One whose rules we don't know. And there's that Zamisi from the Hudson. Veritra, was it? Sansariq mentioned she's after Reynard. Tell her about Veritra. Tell her. Spoil her. Enlighten her. And here I was hoping that Kali would let it go. No such luck tonight, I'm afraid. I don't know much about her, just that she's got some sort of show on the Hudson. We should definitely look into her. Oh, yes. Look into her eyes, into her heart, lungs, liver, spleen. Silence, goddammit. Spinning the ring helps me calm down and gather my thoughts into some semblance of an argument. I raise my head to find Kali scowling at me, thoroughly annoyed. But I need to lead the conversation elsewhere before we can unpack her emotions. I'm not convinced that's the smartest approach. What solid proof do we actually have that ties her to the castle, aside from the rumblings of a disgruntled serpent? She rolls her eyes exaggeratedly. None, but then again, we don't have much of anything solid, so we might as well chase up what leads we do have, right? Tell her you'll go talk with Veritra together, lad. Take her to the dragon's lair. That makes sense. However, I think it might be better to focus our investigation on the circulatory system. She narrows her eyes at me while I pretend not to notice she's looking at me at all. Honestly, this feels way riskier than just chatting with one kindred, and I can't believe I'm the one saying this. Before I can persuade her just how risky this endeavor is, for me, her eyes grow wide in surprise. Are you scared of her? Not quite, but thank you for the excellent excuse. Well, Sansariq did imply that she single-handedly ousted his entire group out of Harlem. Well, to be fair, he only suggested that she does whatever she wants, and he's not a fan because she totally stepped on his toes. You can't even fib anymore, lad. What's left for you? Shite. I'm getting sloppy. The ring doesn't really want to land on 20 either. Kali's eyes narrow further in suspicion, and my vitae freezes a second before she confirms my fears. Wait, hold on. Do you know her? Like, personally? I don't, well, I've heard of her. Oh, you've heard. You've pleased. You've feasted. You've served. Word travels fast, and she's been the talk of the town for quite some time now. She's quite the enigma. The enigma you know, the dragon you serve. Stop it. You always want the truth. The gospel. Stop. But you can't even provide it yourself. No one knows where she came from or why she chose New York, only that she invades territories and stands her ground decisively. A parasite then, just like you. Tick, louse, tapeworm. Oh, for God's... Shut up! Cancer upon the world, the slayer, the sower of the... I said shut up! What will remain of you? Her, him, them, us. What will remain when you... Close your mind to it, Fionn. Yes, I will. And that unknown element is precisely what makes her a threat. The way she grinds her teeth reminds me of a kern. Seriously, you know we can't trust the rumor mill. It's like the lifeblood of kindred politics. Everyone's been hyping up Sansariq as this big, scary motherfucker, and look, the guy's practically a sweetheart. And maybe we just caught him at an opportune moment. Exactly. We might just catch Veritra on a good day, too. Are you really ready to stake it all on wishful thinking? The incontrovertible fact is, those kindred who sought her out have never returned. And the same could be said about the sheriff. I don't get why you're all weird about looking into Veritra, especially since you've never even met her. Confess your sins and she will absolve you. At 20. Finally. I stop spinning my ring and just grip it tightly, my knuckles turning several shades paler. The main difference between her and the Camarilla is that with the Ivory Tower, you can occasionally talk your way out of a deal. Negotiate, like you did a couple of nights ago. With Veritra, the story has one ending. You disappear. I can't look at her as I speak. My gaze is firmly locked onto my ring. Thankfully, the voices have calmed down for now. Kali is silent for a while too, and then she throws her hands up. You know what? As much as it might kill me to say it, you're right. This Veritra chick is way too dicey to just waltz up to. Let's stick to something more solid for now. Yes, exactly. Relief overwhelms me, and my legs shake with the effort to keep me upright. I spin the ring to tether myself to the ground and finally look Kali in the eye. Her eyes look surprisingly vacant, at odds with the words that leave her lips. It's just that... this is killing me. I need to do something with my hands before I literally explode. Literally? She's talking about the same thing that forces her to look for a new home each night? Literally explode? Does that have something to do with your clan? No, it's just how I'm wired. Got a coin or something I can toss? Maybe a pebble? A button? Wired, as she would say. Well, who am I to judge? I rummage through my pockets and hand her a quid that's been sitting in my coat for ages. Thanks, so... Oh shit. Looks like the serpents are having second thoughts about letting us walk. What? Why would they... I turn to look, but there's nobody there. The river remains turbulent, filling the air with the sound of crashing waves, but otherwise the pier is calm. When I turn back, Kali's already a few steps away. Never mind, probably just my mind playing tricks. Hey, what's up with your ring? My ring? It... What? Teehee. It's gone. Kali lifts a hand and waves her fingers, flashing the double band, and I feel my whole world crashing down. What are you gonna do now? Kindra don't breathe, but it's as if she's suffocating me. I'm drowning in the middle of the desert, fingers trembling and grasping for the sukkah she holds in her hand. Are you gonna cry? Give it back. Why the fuss? It's a cool piece and all, but seriously, what's the big deal? You don't understand. I really need it back. Please. Oh, but you don't. Let her keep it. That old, useless, pointless. She crosses her arms and leans back while my body readies itself to leap at her. I fight the urge, and I clench and unclench my fist, desperately struggling to not keel over, not kneel down, not... Or just end her. Kill her. Hurt her. Hurt her. Oh yes, hurt her. Like you've hurt everyone. Kali, I'm serious, please. He could turn really ugly, really fast. Give it back. Give it back. Just give it back. Random words in Gaelic. Can't even understand what they're saying as they shout and howl over each other in a vengefully powerful cacophony, a flood with a singular, maleficent intent to pull me under forever. It's where you belong, you little bitch. Kali keeps talking, but I barely hear the words she tosses my way. I will if you tell me what the fucking problem is. Look at this from my angle, will you? I feel like I'm about to lose my head here, and you're acting like it's fine to gamble with my existence. You get how messed up that sounds, right? Oh, fuck her and her self-righteous bullshit. My legs give out. My knees hit the ground with a resounding thud, and my body follows, drawn inexorably to the snow, the wood, the water underneath. I barely manage to support myself with my arms, shaking with exertion. It's not what you think. Just, please, Hand it over, hand it over, overhand. Cut the hand, cut the head. And then what? You just skirt around the issue? That's all you ever fucking do. Whew. How well she knows you, lad. Shivers race up and down my spine, torso, limbs, lips, nose, brows, every single hair on my head. I clench my teeth and still feel them chatter in a fast staccato, much like the voices in my head. Such a weak little shit you are. You really don't think much of me, do you? Haven't I shown you I'm reliable enough? I want to tell her. Well, such a fucking pussy. It's not about you, Kali. Not everything is about you. 'Cause everything is about you. But all I can do is shiver, tremble, seize up, and slowly, voice by voice, lose control. You never had control. You only claim, pose, declare. Come on, Padraic. Quit the game just this once and trust me. What's going on with you? I might be able to help, you know. Kill her. Kill her. Kill her. She pries one of my hands away from the decaying plank I've nearly crushed and slips the ring onto my finger. You're nothing. No one. You pose as trash. I barely register her stepping away. The ring is back. And you'll never be anything more than... It's back. It never went away. I spin once. 20. The voices disappear from my head, along with their raucous discord. A wave of relief washes over me and feeling returns to my numbed limbs. I curl in on myself, calmer, happier, safe, cradling my hand to my chest. I suddenly notice that I'm breathing, gasping for air in the most uselessly mortal manner, and so I desperately need it. I don't understand what happened. She could have done anything she wanted while I was incapacitated. Why would she just give me the ring back just like that? Is it possible that all she wants is an explanation? After all the lies and deception she's encountered, she must crave honesty and clarity. I can give her that. Or at least a few crumbs of a larger truth. I do not leave important decisions to a die roll. Absolutely not. You're right, it would be monumentally foolish. As the very picture of candor, I look her straight in the eye. She sits down on the pier next to me and nods, encouraging me to go on. This ring, I consider it my lifeline. It keeps me from drowning in the relentless flood of voices inside my head. It doesn't shut them up entirely, but it dampens them, makes them manageable, subdued. She tilts her head in thought. Is this why you've been so obsessed about inner voices? And that Duskborn Sana? Yeah, I'm searching for a more lasting solution, or for some clarity at least. Clarity on what? On the meaning behind these voices, and their purpose too. You don't know? I know... I've known these voices as long as I can remember. I understand why they grew stronger after my embrace, but I also know they're not like what others experience. Padraic, I'm so lost. What others are you talking about? I don't speak for a while, fingers dancing over the ring even though the voices are dormant. I hope that a few crumbs of the truth would satisfy her hunger for answers, but it seems she needs a full bite. I am Malkavian, Kali. The whole Kate effect is just a facade. Okay, and? What? I can't help looking at her suspiciously. You don't seem terribly shocked. I mean, what are we if not the secrets we keep? Kali isn't even my real name, you know? Huh. Well, what is it then? Slow down, Turbo. We're still unpacking your little masquerade here. What's up with that? I sigh deeply and run my fingers through my hair. Why, the pretense, you mean? Yeah, that. I get the gist, but I want to know the deets. The deets are that Malkavians aren't exactly crowd favorites, particularly those among us with an uncanny insight into the future and no talent for concealing it. Wait, hold up. You're telling me you can see the future? No, nothing so extravagant. I get feelings, hunches, occasional whispers offering me a glimpse of what might be. Sounds pretty nifty to me. It usually does. Many mortals and kindred alike dream of knowing what's to come. But not all clairvoyance is to be desired, especially when one cannot be sure if it's been given in good faith or malice. Wait, so your own voices are screwing with you? Yeah. That's seriously messed up. No disagreement there. So these whispers, do they tip you off like when you saved those anarchs 2 years back? It's surprising that she remembers this crumb that I gave her yesterday. And impressive. Borderline endearing, even. In a way, I was lucky to guess right and lucky that Tor cut me some slack for my erratic gift. She nods silently, and I see her piecing together our conversation in her head. But if you understand these voices and their origins, why bother dissecting them? I hear many voices, each of them distinct but also the same. It's difficult to explain. I pause and hesitate. Should I tell her the truth about the... Of course, Fionn. Of course. But among them is one that's elusive. It doesn't come from any known place and can't be quieted. And not even by my ring. I need to uncover its source and purpose. So it's nastier than the others. Not exactly, just enigmatic. And there's only one. Yes, lad. Tell her about your mistress. Tell her. Shut up. Nobody seems to know a damn thing about it. She squints at me, suspicion tightening her features. You're holding out on me. Again. I squeeze out a laugh, one that I hope sounds relaxed and careless. Of course I am, but I'm being open about it. It's impossible to share everything about oneself. I find that fascinating, don't you? No matter how transparent you try to be, there's always aspects of your life you keep to yourself, intentionally or not. The nuances of our situations. I can pinpoint the moment where eyes glaze over and my words stop finding purchase in her brain. I ramble on for a while more, partly to recharge my batteries, and partly just to spite her. Cool it, Gandalf. Keep your secrets. Just remember, I'm not letting fate roll the die for me. You already have one reckless idiot in this team, and that's me. She really is something else, isn't she? I suppose she deserves one more crumb of truth. I offer her a small, but genuine smile. I thank you, truly. Had I known you'd be so understanding, I might have told you sooner. And I apologize for misjudging you, Kali. You should. I'm as reliable as they come. Cool as a cucumber. That's a stone-cold fact. But I'll let it slide. Everyone fucks up once in a while, right? A truth universally acknowledged. So, shall we go back to the important stuff? Yeah, we should. Unless you've got more bombshells to drop. I know she's just trying to provoke me, but I can't help the way my unbeating heart stops and the hairs on my nape stand up. I calm myself down in the blink of an eye, and I'm sure she's noticed me fumbling. Thank goodness for the rare display of manners when she elects not to pester me about it. No, nothing else to declare, but I admit, I am quite curious about your real name. Nah, we're definitely not there yet. Very well. So, Reynard, why is the circulatory system so obsessed with getting him out of the picture? I mean, there's the whole blood thing trade, sure, but why the sudden urgency? I'm guessing it's because they know something we don't. Or they made a mistake. Yeah, nobody's perfect, but I guess it's less likely that a whole fucking corporation is totally wrong about something, you know? Now, if the Camarilla hadn't swiped my laptop, I might have done some deep digging online with all my tech, but honestly, it probably wouldn't have made much of it made a damn difference. A behemoth like the circulatory system probably uses a sealed-off intranet for all of their dirty laundry. If only I could hack into their database. But it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point. Hold that thought. Getting into the circulatory system's database might just be within our grasp. She squints at me, reluctantly impressed. Have you ever come across someone named Kaiser? No habla español? You mean Aleman, but that's besides the point. Kaiser is quite the figure here in New York. A veritable eminence gris who influence extends everywhere like a spider's web. There's little he doesn't know, even though with the recent altercation with the La Sombra Primogen. What altercation? A rather physical one, but I don't know the details. Only that Kaiser very much did not like it. Huh. That Primogen sounds pretty cool. I should definitely not meet with them then. I don't want no altercations. I doubt you have much say in whether the Primogen chooses to seek you out. Anyhow, if we want to operate under the Camarilla's radar, Kaiser's our kindred. Yeah, but hooking up with someone like that? I mean, I'm not even planning to stick around New York much longer. Piling up debts while hunting for my sire sounds like a nightmare. That's fair. Well then, we don't have any other... Hold up, what about that Malkavian savant? Word on the street she's pretty slick with intel. You know her, right? From Clan to Clan? Ah, you mean Hope, the CEO of Double Spiral. Right, her. She's famous for her tech chops. Heard some chatter about her back in LA, too. Well, she might not be the best fit for this job. Cracking open the database is one thing, but getting her hands on it is another. But she's been a thorn in Kaiser's side lately, having steadily gained ground in his areas of influence. Maybe she's picked up some new tricks she hasn't unleashed yet. It's your call, Kali. This is about your sire, after all. She takes a few seconds to weigh her options. I can never be sure what she'll do at any given moment, but right now, I really would rather she choose Hope. A day where I don't see Kaiser is definitely one to give thanks for. Perhaps just the tiniest nudge would be enough to put Kali on the right track. I reach out with my will, poking tentatively at her brain, but before I exert any real influence, she's done hesitating. Then let's touch base with the tech whiz. Seems like a safer bet to me. Yes, thank you. Alright, I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow night, just after sunset. Meet at my Mayhaven as soon as possible. You'll find another place to crash tonight, I take it? She dazzles me with a brilliant smile. Yeah, but I'll be there. Pinky promise. I have expected to extend a pinky finger, but it seems it was just a figure of speech, so I smile and nod. And then we go our separate ways, melting into the vanishing night. One call to Hope later, to steal 5 minutes of her time tomorrow night, and then I'm already home. So that is very interesting. 5 months ago? Okay, this is different than this story that we went through with Kali because we went and saw Kaiser. So despite the fact that we're kind of trying to follow the same choices, we're gonna go see Hope. So what's the deal here? That's quite interesting to me. But looks like Aaron Fletcher has some business 5 months ago, and we will figure out what that is in the next episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this longer episode than normal. But if you liked it, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.